Hello and welcome to Ipswich's Real Estate Podcast, formerly On the Couch with Steve. I'm Steve Athanates. I'm the owner of NG Real Estate here in Ipswich and some of the surrounding areas. I'm joined today by Steve Beach from Stanford Financial. Steve, welcome.
Hey, Steve.
Now, obviously, as always, we're going to talk about all things real estate, and this is one of our most popular episodes of Ipswich's Real Estate Podcast because we're going to talk about interest rates and the decision that happened 2 hours ago.
An hour ago, yep.
Okay, so obviously without any further ado, it is the 1st of April 2025. Steve Beach, what happened with interest rates?
Well, as I predicted, they are on pause, so on hold, so no rate movements today.
Boo!
Wish they were going down, as a lot of people were, but I guess a lot of the forecasts or economists were all predicting about a 95 to a 90% chance of just going on hold. So, no, good news is very minimal or zero talk about any sort of movement up, so no rate rises on the cusp. It's more about the question times were more about when is the next rate cut going to be in Australia.
Okay, now obviously people will remember from our podcast from last month, I was hopeful that we might get another cut. Now, I did listen to a lot of commentary and there were some people who were tipping a cut. Now, obviously, I guess the reason I tipped it and some other people who are probably much smarter than myself were thinking it was a possible outcome was because of the election.
Yep.
Obviously, since our last podcast, the election's now been called. Australia's going to the polls on May 3rd.
Yep.
And obviously, we thought that the Reserve Bank may do something to try and further stimulate the economy because, generally speaking, most of the indicators for the economy are really quite strong.
If anything, based on statistical data, you would almost anticipate an actual rate cut. Inflation data again went down, so we talk about medium and trimmed inflation. So the higher inflation went from 2.9 to 2.7, so heading in the right direction, and the trimmed inflation went from 2.5 down to 2.4. So we're still, even after a rate cut, we're still heading in the right direction. So.
Yeah, look, and that's why I thought there was a possibility we might get one. I had to be a little bit controversial and tip something different to you for once, and unfortunately I was wrong. All right, it didn't work out for me, but you were right again, as always. That's why you're the expert. Now, mate, we talked about the election coming on May 3. Within our market, you'll see it in our future episode of Ipswich's Real Estate Podcast. For March, it started off diabolically. We had a cyclone.
Yes.
Now, obviously, I know for anyone who out there that was affected, my heart goes out to you. For a lot of us, a little bit anticlimactic, but at the end of the day, for anyone who was affected, like I said, our heart goes out to you. But our real estate month, come the middle of March, was looking absolutely diabolical. We're thinking, oh my goodness, what's happened? At the end of the day, we ended up exceeding March 2024's figures.
Oh, wow.
We listed more, we sold more than we did last year, and even though halfway through the month it looked like we would be lucky to achieve half of what we were hoping to achieve. So the market is a little bit up and down. People seem a little indecisive about whether they want to list or whether they want to sell or whether they want to buy, whether they want to wait and see if interest rates drop further and their mortgage repayments become cheaper. You're obviously in the home loan business. What's business like for you?
I think I guess we're a nationwide mortgage broking business, so probably less than 50% of our clients are actually in Brisbane. So we're still seeing an uplift of clients, particularly after the rate cut. Benefit was pretty much all banks actually passed on the rate cut to not only to new clients but their existing portfolio as well. So we weren't having to go out there with a big stick and actually bash a lot of the banks to go, hey, pass on this rate cut to my client. So that was sort of great news. But similarly, we're getting a mixed communication where, a lot of people are sort of talking about wanting to see rate cuts come down as the interest rates go down, increases people's borrowing capacity, which means people can pay more money. But at the same time, as rates go down, it means people can borrow more money, and property prices go up. So it's making it harder for first home buyers to enter into that marketplace. So even statistically, just in the month of March, they said the national property price actually went up 0.4% just for the month. Overall, as where we've sort of been seeing Southeast Queensland has been really great, but a lot of the major cities like Melbourne and Sydney have actually seen a decrease over the last 5 months of property prices, where we saw everybody go up, which was a first for the last few months.
Okay, well, obviously it is interesting to watch what's happening. Obviously, we're seeing as part of this election campaign, everything is focused on cost of living and how, I guess, political parties can try to appease people and try and make their life easier in terms of either reducing some type of cost. Now, whether that's for fuel, whether that's
electricity at the moment,
electricity, or even a very minimal tax cut.
Well, they were talking about a 1% tax cut in that middle bracket, so which does help a lot of people, but it's not a lot of money.
What were they saying? Less than $5 a week.
Yeah, but when you add that, over millions of people, it adds up to the government.
Look, don't get me wrong. I think it's going to cost a lot of money to do it, but for each individual, they're saying the cost of doing that for me as one person, is almost insignificant.
You wouldn't even see it.
Yeah, so that's why I'm saying, is it really worth it to the economy to put all that debt back to the economy for such an insignificant benefit to individuals or families? Well, look, obviously we could talk about this all day. It is extremely interesting. You were saying before we came on air that there wasn't a lot of commentary. We used to, normally the Reserve Bank sort of tries to really rationalise and explain why they either,
did something,
put it down, or whether they put it on hold. You're saying there wasn't a lot of it this time.
No, so it was a very mild, announcement from Michelle Bullock. So just talking about, and through the question time, which I see a little bit on the way here, is talking again about were we expecting to see a rate cut? The commentary was about confidence in their forecasting. So she sort of mentioned that they're getting more confident about their forecast. So essentially why they haven't done a rate cut, or what their sort of anticipated movements are with the rates over the next sort of 12 months. Again, it was very sort of, we're just going to see what happens. I guess global political Trump tariffs was a big one. Election government spending is another one. So there's a lot of unforeseen expenses and implementations that are out of, I guess, Australia's control, or the RBA's control, that's going to affect that moving forward. So, the Trump tariff thing essentially gets announced tomorrow of sort of more clearly of how that's going to impact Australia, directly or indirectly via, sort of tariffs being imposed to China and so on. We can probably get into very complex with that, but I guess either or, however it affects globally, it's going to affect Australia directly.
Well, look, like I said, that tariffs one will be interesting to watch. Obviously, I know the Reserve Bank in the past has talked about a lot of the inflationary pressures that are coming onto the economy are actually being caused by government spending or stimulus packages, or, cost of living measures. So that's what's causing a lot of the inflationary pressure, both on a state and a national level.
Federal level, yep, sort of things. So.
All right, well, here we go. This is prediction time. When's our next announcement?
So the next announcement, although they don't meet in April, even though today's the 1st of April, this was actually the March meeting. So they don't meet in April, so the next meeting is in May. So May will be, so again, it'll only be about another sort of 7 weeks before we make the next podcast.
Right. So we need a prediction. What is going to happen in 7 weeks' time? By the time they make the announcement, we will have had the federal election, because that's on the 3rd. Yep. When do they meet?
I think it's the 14th and 15th of May.
Okay, so nearly 2 weeks after the result will be known for the federal election. What are you predicting, mate?
This is a tough one. A few people at work actually asked me this question, and I said, I'll wait for the actual announcement first before, I guess, reading into some of the data that's actually come out. I guess for probably the last 4 months, I think I predicted the first rate cut in Australia to be basically in August. I'm actually probably going to flip it, and I'm probably going to say I would actually like to see a rate cut in May. Statistically, they're saying it's a 60% chance of a rate cut in May. So the odds are going to be in my favour. So I'm gonna go against the grain of what I've been saying for the last few months, and I'm going to say rate cut in May.
I'm going to agree with you. Now, I tipped maybe the Reserve Bank would tip a sneaky one and just try to get everyone's attention. I think more importantly, all of the economic indicators and the measures that they're using to determine whether they should cut, I think they're all going in the right direction. I hope that continues. I personally believe I would have liked to have seen one right now, today, but it hasn't come. I think in 7 weeks' time, I think we will see a rate cut. So for everyone out there, you heard it first here on Ipswich's Real Estate Podcast. Steve Beach from Stanford Financial and myself, we're both tipping a rate cut for May. So we're back in unison.
Yep.
We're on the same team, right? We're going for rate cuts. So everyone who wants to join Team Rate Cut, make sure you're watching Ipswich's Real Estate Podcast and you'll hear everything that's going to happen here first. So once again, Steve, thank you so much as always for coming along, your advice, your mentorship, and obviously your expertise from being part of Stanford Financial. Absolute blessing to our podcast, so thank you as always.
Thank you for inviting me.
No worries. Now, for everyone else out there, if you've liked what you've heard today, you've got some comments you'd like to make, we'd love to hear from you. Just subscribe to the link below. Your feedback is very important to us. So from me today, that's all we've got. I'm Steve Athanates. Obviously, I'm from NG Real Estate Ipswich. If you'd like to see more of Ipswich's Real Estate Podcast, tune in for our next episode. See you soon.